거랑이야 거랑이야 우리를 창고 마타리키 때 가이토 때 홍마 밖에 기대 보 때랑 같이라 어룽아 그런 물 놓고 꿈에 까왜 주대꾸라 미야 주대꾸라 기대고 때랑이 나꾸라고 빼주랑이 주가와의 혼노한 망가마대 내 구뱅아 따라만 구구매어 주루주루로이마다 땅이 아파구레나 구매야 까웨야 루이야 거페주라이자 내 구뱅아 따라만 구구매어 주루주루로이마다 땅이 아파구레나 대화가 오랑이 기대어요 지지라마 지지라마 나가야 마타리키 나요 아겠네 나가야 마타리키 나요 아겠네 또 나를 와마마이 따바이제 또 나가야 마타리키 나요 아겠네 나가야 마타리키 나나요 아겠네 집바꽃이 알아 나가이 호로타이 해마는 배구바라 에이카이 츠바카 이대와히 오카와이 한마치 알아 해우무 고후고후 배추라이 나때 대하우다부 대하우라이 앞에 대하우다부 대하우다부 헤이고 대하우다부 대하우다양아지 알아 대하우다부 대하우다부 대하우다양아지 Matariki te Chihangaya te Heto Mawhetu o te rangi ko Matariki Matariki te po Matariki te He hoki ka mahara He anga whakamu He anga whakamu He oranga wairua Ko Matariki e ana Puarangi Waita waiti Waipunarangi Kōrero Ko Matariki Ko Pōhutukawa Ko hiwa I te rangi Matariki Matariki Wai Matariki Ko Matariki Mawhetu o te rangi Ko Matariki Mate ana te tangata Ka tīmata tōna haere te ara wairua Te pōtukawa tawhito e tūtonu maira I te rerenga wairua Ka heke I reira nā te ako o te rākau Kei raro o te aka, ko te aka roa, ko te aka maroke Ko te aka maroke o te pōtukawa Ka ore nei e tai ki te moana Ka mauri anu ko te era Koe ara te tomokanga Ki raro henga Kaua te tuohu nei au Me mira mai te pō Koe ia e kite, koe ia e naro E mina o moi te pō Te whetu tapu Te whetu tapu o te kahui Matariki Pōtukau e ti aho maira E mira mai te pō E tō aroha e tō mate E mata pōre ana au I te pō Arahina te kura Arahina te kura Ki te wā Kei reira, mā te ako o te rākau. Kei raro o te aka, ko te aka roa, ko te aka maroke. Ko te aka maroke o te poitikawa, kaore nei e tai ki te moana. Ko mauri anuku tērā, ko iara te tomokanga ki rarohenga.
You guys all good for me to start? Is this the clicker? Bye. Tēnā tātou katoa, kua hui mai I tēnei pō te timata tātou I te karakia. Matariki te tupua, matariki te tawhito, matariki te kāhui whetu, matariki hunganui, matariki āhunganui, matariki manako nui, e tō matariki ki raro rā, whano, haramai te toki, haumie, huie, tai kie. Nau mai, whakatau mai ki te papa tongarewa, ki runga o rongomarairoa ki raro I te tuanui o tō tātou whare a te hono ki Hawaii. Tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome everybody to Te Papa. I just have a few health and safety notes before we get started. The wharepaku is located just around the corner past the Pounamu, the Mauri stone, to your left. In the unlikely event of an emergency or evacuation, please follow the directions of our visitor services hosts. They're wearing the events t-shirts. And please turn your phones on silent. We've got a really cool kōrero coming up, and you can keep your phones on for photos, just no flash, but it would be great if they were on silent. Thank you. Kia ora everybody, I'm Aroha. I'm one of the public program specialists here at Te Papa, and I am so happy to host our third and final talk in our Matariki Kōrero series. Throughout June, we've had experts come in for a weekly talk series to talk about Kai Māori practices in relation to Matariki and taonga in our collections. This talk, however, is about Puanga, the whetu that for some iwi signals the Māori New Year, much like Matariki. I'm just going to hand it over to Mani Dunlop to introduce our speakers. She's a broadcast and whanaunga of our speakers tonight.
Oh, I haven't done anything, don't clap. Oh, kia ora whānau mari o te whare. I am not Julian Wilcox, as you can see. I don't have a flash suit on like him, but I'm here just to introduce the people who don't need any introductions. But no mai wainganui a tātou, and I hope you're all keeping warm. Just want to give you a bit of the north. So usually down here, when you see or you hear someone asking how you are, you hear kei te pihia. From the north, we say e pihana, okay? E pihana koutou, and the reply should be ka nui te ora. So let's just get a bit of energy in the room. So ka pai, so I'm going to ask, e pihana koutou, and you say ka nui te ora. Kōrero? Ka pai. E pihana koutou? Ooh, no, I think we can just do a little bit more, vibes. Okay, e pihana koutou? Ka pai. Oh, kia ora tātou. Well, on that note, I was asked to introduce them, but they don't really need to be introduced. But obviously, we're all here to hear the kōrero ehara te Matariki ko te Puanga. Nā ririata makiha, who never would ever want to be introduced as a tohunga, but he is, so sorry about it. And as a holder of our kōrero tuku iho, and if you know Papa Rao, you know his generosity in sharing his knowledge with everyone and anyone, and that is his cause. He's also real cheeky and naughty. If you ever get to see that side of him, my Gemini brother, / Papa. So no mai kia ririata makiha to the winter in the south, and I'm sure we'll hear more about our kaupeka here and what we're experiencing at the moment. And what I call probably the best rounder-upper of Papa Rao and Julian is Dallas, Ririata's niece, Dallas King. So the hokianga has well and truly arrived, and that's enough from me, and I'll hand over to the amazing Ririata Makiha and Dallas King. Kia ora.
Let's lift this up. Kati tapu wai e manea te ika I karangahia te tai o hokianga, e kui mai karama patu e te tere I uta, te tere I tai, ke ketu e te kore. Tēnā hoki rātou hakatīnā he kore pēo no te ngongo kino, tane kino, kui kino. Ko rimu haere kauai, ko tōtara haere kauai, ko pukatea haere kauai, ko koroi haere kauai e titi e tatahe. E kare kauana te kare aroto nei. E kare ana I te mea e hari koana ko tau mai nei. Ki muia koutou I tēnei pō, engari hore kau e tino e hari ana, nā te mea I pōhe au, haere mai anau te kōrero mō Matariki, nā he poto noheo ngā kōrero kei au mō Matariki, kia wawe e to tātou hoki ki te kāinga. I was just mentioning that I was invited to talk about Matariki, and I said, that's cool. 10 minutes we'd be going home. Absolutely no idea about kōrero around Matariki. Because over in Hokianga, it's nearly Christmas before you can see it. But tēnei te kōrero ake nei mo te tātou nei whetu for Puanga rua. And I must say, before starting our kōrero, I need to pay tribute to our tūpuna in Hokianga for their foresight during the days of the Tohunga Suppression Act, where a lot of this kōrero tuku iho had almost been obliterated. But what they did in the Hokianga is they moved the whare wānanga around into the ngahere and into the valleys where they couldn't be found. And so what you'll hear tonight is some of that information that has survived all those years in attempts to get rid of our tūpuna mātauranga. And thankfully, they were unsuccessful. And tonight we'll be sharing just a little bit of what our tūpuna left behind for us to guide us in our everyday lives, really. And so those of you, I think this is available, all this kōrero. And so you get, we're going to have a look at some really cool stuff, actually, because this kōrero tukuiho came down from Nukutawhiti and Ruanui when they came into the Hokianga Harbour in mid-September 1054. How do we know that? Well, we were there when they arrived. But what they did was they talked about the position of stars, and you can see that that map that was mapped out by some clever people up in the Pacific, the alignment of our kōrero tukuiho. And they aligned where all these stars that the old people talked about, which we wouldn't go into tonight because we'd be here all night. And we managed to focus it in on that date of mid-September 1054. Now you've got to understand too that Nukutawhiti and Ruanui were years and years after those kupe and kupenuku that came into the Hokianga Harbour many, many years before them. But we're taking our kōrero from Nukutawhiti and Ruanui because they were the ones who set up the Hokianga whare wānanga that allowed these kōrero that you see tonight to survive up to this day. So tēnei te tahi o ngā kōrero a rātou mā. Te rātou kōrero I noho a io I te aho te ao he waikato he pauri. So in the old people's, the kōrero that was left behind in the whare wānanga, they said that the first thing into existence was wai, water. Tērā te mea tuatahi ki te ao. And they had this awesome whakapapa, as you do with anything you're doing in te ao Māori. They have a look at this whakapapa. And this particular whakapapa comes down from Tango and Wainui Aotea. And there you go. So you get the moana nui, moana roa, moana hakere, moana pōtango, moana tū I te repo, and moana tū I te wao. I want to talk briefly about that urirea moana tū I te repo. Moana tū I te repo is the atu of our swamplands. So you've got to remember that these aren't, that the existence of all these atua is not here on earth, but kei te āteo te rangi. So that's how they looked at it. And moana tū I te repo was the atu of the swamplands. And unfortunately, what we have here today is that most of our swamplands have been wiped out. But moana tū I te repo's job was to capture all the excess rain and all the mud and that, because it was the battle between the atua back in the creation days when, who was it? Tāne ate some of Tangaroa's children. So who had mussels tonight? Oysters? He got grumpy, as you would if someone ate your children. And so Tangaroa got grumpy, and he promised that he was going to send up all the water, and he's going to gouge out Papa Tuanuku and capture, grab Tāne's children and drown them in the ocean. So that's the pakanga between those atua. And our old people always said when growing up, when you're looking at erosion, that's our story of erosion, that it's a battle between atua. And then they didn't say don't interfere, but they said if you do interfere, there's only one winner in a battle like that. And so you see a lot of without our swamplands, everything's turning to crap, Because the swampland's job was to capture all that water and all that mud and hold it so that it won't go out into the waterways and out into the oceans where they can damage our kai moana. So it's a very important lesson. So we pass a lot of this mātauranga on by composing kōrero tuku iho. So can I read that? So I think I can read it. I might need some binoculars, but yeah. Tuia ki te rangi, tuia ki te whenua, tuia ki te moana, tuia te here tāta e rongo te pō e rongo te ao. E whē kite ana e whē karo ana I ngā hitai a wainui Aotea tūpuna o ngā moana kiri waiwai mo Papa Tuanuku. Ngaki mai ana a taitua rāo ko taiaro e hai tonu ana I te umaunuku. Pipi tonu mai ana ngā wai o roi ngā kamo. Tangi ana mo moana tū ki te repo pōtiki a wainui Aotea rāo ko tangotango. I ke keria ke rere tōna waiora kia Tangaroa whakamautai. Ngaro atu anu ka hore he hoki ngā mai. Kei hea rā te kāinga mō matuku manu o te repo. Ka ngaro I te tirohanga kanohi. Ko koro ki tōna wairua ki ngā rākau teitei o te waunui. Waihoa ke a poroaka te tangi moke moke. Ngau ki tonu mai ana te oati a Tangaroa kia tāne. Ngaki ana ki uta tā pahutu mai ana ngā uri a tāne ki te whakatutuki I te oati I te pairangi. Waiho ake ngā hitai hei roi mata whakamākuku I ngā pāpāringa. Te huamotanga o te waipuke o te mate. Whawhati mai ana ngā tū Aotea ki waho, tū te tauihu, tū te taurapa, tū ake ana ki te whare huka huka Tangaroa, ki te patatai e tau ai, kua tau. So in trying to capture these historical stories, what we do is we compose kōrero like this. It doesn't have to be in karakia, but we've got them in kapahaka, we've got a waiata ringa and all those sorts of things that we can now pass on to our tamariki. Are we there already? Wow, you're nearly ready to go home. Yeah. So our tupuna left behind how to, a plan, as it were, to how to understand taia, the environment, and it was based around ngā kaupeka o te tau. I don't know what that is in Pākehā. I've got no idea. It's kaupeka. But the kaupeka are where you can actually watch the seasonal changes to the environment. And so we start with, up the top there, matiti kura. We've got matiti hana. Matiti muramura, of course, is the time when the old pohutikawa flowers. Last year it was the 2nd of December, I think 5:30 in the morning. I haven't set the date for it this year, but we can actually fix the date of when they're going to flower. Yeah. Have you set the date? 5th of December this year, 5:30 in the morning. And if they're not flowering at that time, those pohutikawa aren't from here, okay? Well, not from Hokianga, yeah. But that's that matiti muramura phase, and then we come down into the matiti kaiwai. Now this is an interesting phase because we haven't seen it for about 5 years now, the kaiwai. And the kaiwai is when the ground gets so dry that it cracks open, ka katakata. And we call that the katakata, te waru I kataina I rehua. That's the Hokianga name for that time of the year, which is about mid-January, sometime like that. So te waru I kataina I rehua. And that's the kaiwai phase. So we also, the next one, the matiti raurehu, we hadn't seen that for 4 or 5 years as well. And we were about to have a hui to change it and give it a new name. And then, lo and behold, it turns up again this year. And so, we can wait another 5 years before we change the name. But it actually, I've been asked, what's the tohu for matiti raurehu? It's when you get up in the morning and it's like a white, powdery substance on the lawns. We're not too sure what it is, because we haven't been fast enough to go and capture it and bottle it, so we can send it to a science lab to check out, see what it is. But it had been missing for about 5 years, and this year it came back, that raurehu. The next one is the rautapata, and the tapata is when the seeds and the ngahere ka takataka mai ne, ka tāpatapata mai ki te whenua. And then the last phase of our summer matiti is that te rau angina, te wahi e ka ki te koe ngā rau e kanikani mai, takataka mai na ngā rākau. And then we go into the phase where we're at now, wero I te ninihi. And this year the ninihi hau blew in on the 11th of May. And when the ninihi hau blows in, it starts changing everything into winter. And so you see ngā kura in the evening, ngā kura hine nui te pō. Well, you can see this red, I think up only up in Hokianga though, eh? Yeah, I don't think you see it on the East Coast. Oh, sorry you people who... Just Hokianga, okay. Sorry you people living on the East Coast. But then you see that switch into the winter phase from that wero I te ninihi. And we're in there now, and we're just waiting, well, at least in Hokianga. Oh, yeah, okay, this is Hokianga Kōrero, eh? Actually, that's important because down here, I don't know what they've got totally different winter phases down here. It's cold all the time. But that wero I te kōkota is when you get up in the morning and you have to go back and boil the jug, defrost your windscreen. Yeah, for those of you who haven't got garages, of course. But so that's that wero I te kōkota phase. What we're hoping for this year, for all the gardeners, is that we're hoping that we'll get at least 2 weeks of that kokota, because we have some nasty bugs in our garden, and that kokota will bash them up. I'm damn certain it will. So we're hoping for a long kokota, and so we've already let our whānau know to go and get lots of firewood, because you're going to need it if we get into that kokota phase. But that's what we're hoping for. And then we go into that wero I te whakataka pungarehu. That's Rangi's flash term name. No, that actually came out of Hokianga. But you know, when you light the fires, you end up with lots and lots of pungarehu or ash. And so when after the coal goes away, then you keri the pungarehu, the ash, and you turn it over, and then you start your gardens. So that's that whakataka pungarehu phase. Pretty cool, those old people. And then those last 3 phases are, what's that, takurua? I roto te reo pāhea?
Takurua. I'm deciding not to know. Who knows?
Series, I think.
We could have left it as takurua, I think.
Yeah, it's takurua. Yeah.
Pai te ingoa.
Series don't exist, yeah, takurua. So the takurua, that star, it kind of denotes the slow shift into that matichikura phase. And one of the things you see with this is that there's no summer, autumn, winter or spring. Hey, pretty cool, So these were the kaupeka that we were taught growing up. Because before you can understand ngā taka o te marama, you needed to understand this shifting phase. And they all move like that all the time, But you can detect it if you're really sharp and watching it all the time. Any questions on that?
Oh, yeah, good call, Kōrero.
Cool.
Idea.
Don't ask any more.
No questions.
Anyone
Am
got
I
any
allowed
questions?
one?
Yeah,
Am I allowed a question?
I suppose, yeah.
Oh, look, it's trying to not let me have a question. How te kōrero o wero I te ninihi? Te pūrākau o wero I te ninihi?
Yeah, she's asking about the pūrākau, that explains that ninihi. So when Rangi and Papa were separated, there was a battle, as they do. I think they were all boys,
Probably.
Anyone got all boys in their family? There'd be lots of battles.
More than likely.
Yeah. So one of the younger ones, what was his name? Uepoto.
Yeah.
Uepoto. When Rangi and Papa was separated, so he came running out to see what a beautiful sight out there. But he had no clothes. And so the nini, he ho blew in that. This wedding, and then he gave him a real good bashing, this cold wind, and then he turned around and ran back inside where it was warm, and that's where we get that wero I te ninihi, the story of Uepoto coming out when Rangi and Papa were separated. Ko wero hi e te ninihi, ka o māno ki roto. So that's where we get that kōrero about wero I te ninihi. Oh, we nearly finished. I hope you didn't pay a lot of money to come here. So what we get from what we're trying to pass on to our tamariki and onto our mokopunga is that the understanding of how our tūpuna understood what we call ngā taka o te marama, that taught us when we should be doing things, when we shouldn't be doing things, when we should be resting, when we should be leaving the whenua alone, and all those sorts of things. So some of the most interesting days when we were growing up was the Tangaro Kiokio Day, the Otane Day, and the Orongonui Day. So if you want to know where the Tangaro Kiokio Day is, find out the full moon phase. 10 days later, you're at Tangaro Kiokio. Easy, And so those 3 days were set aside for looking after ngahere. And our old people had teams going up into our ngahere and looking after all our ngahere. And they did that every month of the year for years and years and years. until someone called Doc came in and
Yeah.
took over the control of our
Jeez.
ngahere. And
No
they're
good.
in a blimmin' mess.
Not the go,
And we are going to get arrested up home because
probably.
we're going back into our ngahere. And we're going to go back and do what this department is supposed to be doing for the last 30, 40 years. Not good.
Aroha, we have to find someone else next year. We'll be incarcerated. We'll be calling on you for nauna.
we'll have to invite some of you fellas from down here, come up to Hokianga, because we'll all be locked up inside. But I think it's come to the stage where you just got to, hey, just go and do it, eh? Otherwise it's just going to get worse. But our ngahere are in a sad, sad state. And actually it's only next week. Yeah, next week. The boys are going in. They've been up monitoring for the last...
Hey, we've got to keep some of the things in the kete.
Oh, true.
We've got a kete for us and we've got a kete for them.
Oh, true.
It's only, we're just giving a koha, a paku koha. Hey, you know, just tiny bit in. Kapai.
But one of the nice things they're doing up there too is that it's not just about pest control and things like that, but replenishing the ngahere. So I think the end of winter, as the days start to get warmer, I think there's the first of the 1,000 middle trees that are going along our waterways. So we're putting back all that kai for all the manure. And then we'll get licenses to get those fat... Oh, no. Go.
Ngā mea o te moana.
Oh, I can't see that.
It's huna,
Oh, huna.
tangaroa.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a bit of law breaking probably going to go on there too, if I'm being honest. But anyway,
So
haere
we
tonu.
follow this, we follow these taka o te marama that guide us in what we should be doing. And there are days spread out throughout those 30 days of the marama taka cycle where you take care of papa tuanuku, and that's the oike day.
Ai,
You see it up there?
ai. I've got
There's
this
the oike
flash little laser
Yeah.
thing.
And then down at, of course, the Otane, Tangaro Kioki Otane o Rongonui, you look after the ngahere. And if you come down further around the other side, there's an Owenuku Day. That is a day set aside in the Maramataka to take care of Ranginui. And then some of the young people, oh, how do we take care of Ranginui? Ranginui's up there. And then someone suggested, well, you could stop smoking for a day, that'll help. Stop vaping for a day, that'd be cool.
Kapai.
Yeah. But I mean, there are innovative ways you could find out, to give back. So. And that's one of the practices. And the other one was the Huna Day. There's a Huna Day.
Ai. Here it is.
Interesting day, that. That's the one, that give back day to
It's
Tangaroa.
today.
Yeah.
Today here.
Oh, is it today? Oh,
Today
wow.
here, yeah.
So we should be out there on the morning giving back to Tangaroa, looking after Tangaroa. And it's a practice that a lot of our young people are going into now. And you see them coming back on their boats on that Huna Day. They go out into the moana and looking after Tangaroa. But you know what they're doing, eh? They're feeding all these fish, eh? So that when the fishing days come around, they go back to that same place. Those Hokianga people, they're not silly, eh? But one of the practices we want to get back into is to go back into each one of these cycles, say, these give back days to look after these different realms of ours.
Kapai.
Oh,
Ngā tai.
okay.
Shall we skip?
And here we have the, you know, when you out on the moana, you kind of get towed along into the rhythms of how things work, and especially in what we call the kurutai area. So where the fresh water flows out and meets the salt water, that's our kurutai area. And it's a very important area of our, especially of our moana up around in Hokianga there. And we use that for monitoring, well, we're going to be using it for monitoring the health of the moana and of all our awa. and watching I don't know how we're going to count the fish, but someone suggested that we go
One
back
bite at a time.
building our pākānai, building those old pākānai that the old people used to use.
That's how.
And so it's an interesting way because the tide comes in and then they capture the fish inside this pā, and then they select what they want and then they let the rest go. Rather than netting that destroys them all, you can actually go and select and pick out what you need for your kai and then let the rest go. A lot of the netting that we do today, it damages a lot of the fish.
And
not-
the environment,
Now this is how we are applying the maramataka in one of the awesome research projects that they're doing out at Whangaruru
Are they?
with some of our whānau up north. And this is a kōrero by one of our kuia. It started actually when I got curious about some of their conversations, and they were, and the girls were complaining about how their mums and their kuia used to send them out raking these beaches. And I wasn't interested for a start until they started naming some of the beaches. And I said, what the heck? The old people get you to do that for? They said, oh, you know, they just wanted us to do some work, young people. And so anyway, I went and asked one of the kuia who was still, she was in her 90s. And this was her kōrero when she was explaining why they were raking these beaches. She says, ka tuku ngā take ke warātu heki ki te pupuhuko o te tairea, ngā taipari ato te ōturu o te muramura, a specific maramataka phase. In fact, in a whole year, I think you've got 20 minutes in a whole year to actually recognize where it is. That's how long you've got. And we sent a young rangatahi team out to that particular moana out at Ngunguru there, slept on the beach, on the sand, because it was nice and warm, and got up the next morning, tai whanake, and managed to, those pictures you see up there was actually of that morning, when we watched the tide bring in that foam, or pupuhuka as we call it, and inside that pupuhuka were these eggs that we believe were takeke eggs. But it was an interesting start to a survey or a rangahau research project that is actually, I think I can confidently say that it's going to change the way that our fisheries act is going to be operated in the future, this particular project. I think they revealed their findings in October. In October, and then there's a big wānanga next year. So some of those of you from up home want to come over to it, because I think they're going to have it up north, a big wānanga where they'll bring all their 3 years of research together just around this tiro by this kuia. Oh, this is Hawaii. You want to talk about these?
You want me to?
There's, we do a lot of, and I think Dallas will pick up on this too, we do a lot of sharing tupuna kōrero with Hawaii, because they have a huge database on winds and clouds and rain.
Aye.
And I think we're sending up another crew this year.
Aye.
Up there. And so we're sharing ideas about our tupuna kōrero. And one of the tupuna kōrero they left behind for us was the idea that there's a pua'a, the pig. There's a pig cloud, and the ilio uli, which are the dog clouds. I think you guys will recognize them as sheep, fluffy sheep. Hey, you know those fluffy clouds there? They're ilio uli. And pua'a, according to Hawaiian traditions. And they were saying that if the dogs are chasing the sheep, no, not the sheep, the pigs. If the dogs are chasing the pigs, don't worry about it. They're all good. But if the roles reverse and the pigs chase the dogs, get out of there. And so we up at, after we finished the takeke observations that morning, and we looked up and I could see the dog clouds coming up. And I looked in front to see if there were any pigs in front. No pigs. And then I stood there and the pigs came up behind the dogs. So I said, Abe, you know that hui we're having at 2 o'clock? Can we postpone it for another day? She said, oh, why? I said, oh, I'm going home. And she said, oh, no, we can still have it. I said, no, we have it another day, I'm going home. 4 hours after we left, that place flooded. So we get taught how to observe our environment, from these traditional stories that have been passed down, not just from our tūpuna, but from our whanaunga too, up in Hawaii and Tahiti.
Aye.
So we're working with Tahiti as well. Oh dear, you recognize anyone there? So what we've done in the last few years is to bring back, some of those of you who remember the old gardens back home there. So, but not just the growing, but also the practice of planting and growing kumara, where we use knots when we're planting the tupu. We use the jays and you face it towards the sun and plant it, and then you use the knots. And then when you get the totoro, there's the creepers that come out from the tupu, and then you can cut them and then replant them in another area.
And knot them.
You knot them and plant
Even
them.
up to
And if
3
you get one
times.
about that long, you can actually have 3. And then some of the young ones said, oh, hey, which is the top and which is the bottom? I said, well, I'll tell you what, plant one that way and plant the other one the other way. And they both grew. So which is the top? But we're going back to a lot of those practices about bringing some of those, our tūpuna practices around how to plant them, eh?
And also those practices around hauhake. This is probably going to be humiliating for me, but that's okay. I've got myself ready. Talking about motu motu.
Yeah. So we had, we have wānanga down on the garden. And so when it comes to a hauhake, and then we go down and we show them, the people how lift up the plant and see which way the tupu is growing, so you dig behind it. And the size of that shoot will also tell you how big the kumara are, so you have to dig further back from it. And awesome. O Manaia got the gold medal.
Shall I play it?
They dug their whole row up with not one motu motu, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I've been saved. It's not going to play.
It's not going to what?
It's not going to play. Fantastic. Moving right along. How about those warriors?
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. If you can see over here, at one of our wānanga we had, you can see there the stalk, if you want to call it that, of the kumara plant. And what we're looking for really is, you can see here the leaves, here's the foliage, and it comes down, and you can see the root structure comes out this way. And here's a closer up one, a bit of a thicker one here. You can see that. So what you're really aiming to do is, if you put your core in here, or your fork in here, you're going to go straight through all the kai. So you're having a look, it's about teaching the people who are doing the hauhake to have a closer look at the plant and understand the way that it grows. It's a little bit like stepping in front of someone when they're walking forward. They're gonna bang into you. So you want to put your fork down behind it here and come down this way on an angle. The other thing you're looking for is how thick the stalk is, because if it's really fat, then they're going to be massive. So you want to go back further, because what you're trying to do is avoid cutting into or skinning. Oh, it'll play if I click again. Oh, thank you so much for making it so that my video of me can play. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Phew, awesome. Lucky. Phew. Anyway, I was going to try and talk it through and avoid that, but the point is that there are lots of reasons. One, for our vanity, so that our kai looks lovely. But two, also because then it stores longer and better, right? Which is a really essential thing if you consider the time and the era of our tupuna. They didn't have, cold stores at that time. So they were really reliant on having good quality hua whenua coming out, kumara coming out. So I'm just hold on to your seats, guys. Oh, look, it's not playing. There you go. This one over here is a video. And what it shows is me getting my doctorate in hauhaki. Anyway, okay, let's go. Moving right along. So here's a bit of a clip. Shall I play it, Oh, also, our rangatahi kai tiro tiro make these videos, not us. So you got to see it through the eyes of our rangatahi. It's a tiny one. It's baby.
We call those show-off ones.
It's a peepee. So this is at one of our hauhake wānanga. And here comes the waka to pick up the kumara and take it back to kawhia.
Just one of our double hull waka coming in and loaded it up with kumara.
It's haunui.
Sailed back out to kawhia. Oh, there it is at the wharf.
Ka pai tainui. Where's that beautiful place, Papa? What's its name?
Now, Hokianga Harbour is never that calm.
No, it's not. What is Hinemoana? These are our whānau, that do the takeke rangahau. Those are two of our rangatahi kai tiro tiro. Oh, and there's another one, Kairama.
Oh, this is the sound art.
Sound ecology workshop. These are the ways that our rangatahi capture the memories of the mahi that they're doing. This is a cool one. They're actually recording the sounds of the different ngaru, the different waves that come in, because each of those waves have a repeating pattern. They learned through their observations that the 6th and 7th wave of each rotation reach all the way up the shores, which is called the Kahatengo tera ngaru, the patatai. Yeah? So this is them utilising some sound equipment so that they can teach that and demonstrate that on. This is called, we went into the ngahere on a day that the academics had available to them. Sorry about it, academics, hold on to your seats, it's not going to be pleasant. We went into the ngahere on a day that they were available, not that a day that was good for the ngahere, so we had to summon a tohunga to call all the birds down. They were on leave that day, but we had to get them back. Come out, guys, it's a special occasion.
This Huruwiki,
Ai, Huruwiki.
So this is about aligning our whānau with the stars, and, and the timing of when to do things.
Okay.
Oh,
Shall I do my rangatahi kai tiro tiro one?
is that the
This is our
Shiway?
rangatahi, yeah. So, one of the things that you would have noticed in that video was that our rangatahi have a different perspective. And so one of the things that we have been really privileged to do in Hokianga is that we have great people, right? Aren't we lucky? And people that can unpack intergenerationally handed down knowledge in a way that turns each karakia, each waiata into this incredible treasure map, if you see it like that. Because actually, if we skip all the way back to the beginning, just have a tiny intermission, these kinds of karakia, this is one of our karakia for Puanga, all the way through it you can see names of stars, names of seasonal transitions, names of atmospheric conditions, names of comets, names of all sorts of things. Names of stars that tell us the specific charism of that year in relation to Puanga. Puanga Kōrero isn't every year. It's Puanga, but some years the charisms of the taiao present themselves in such an abundant way that we know, this is Puanga Kōrero. So when we saw the theme for this year, Matariki Hiri Kai, we thought, yes, for us in Hokianga, that's Puanga Kōrero, doesn't happen all the time, but when you have a season of extraordinary abundance, we get to elevate the mana of that name, of that star, to Puanga Kōrero. So if you are someone who's just learning for the sake of reciting, that's cool, but it's not as cool as you could be. Because this is a road map to understanding the way that our tupuna not only understood and observed, but then were able to compute and translate the things that they were seeing unfold in front of them in the living world, and adjust and apply that to the way that they were living and planning to live in their everyday. In an era where there were no tractors to turn over your soil, so you had to work with the soil. You couldn't pop down to Bunnings and pick up a bag of fertiliser. You had to understand the nutrient capabilities of the soil. You had to understand the water availability, and you couldn't just run a pipe out. You couldn't run a line down and a tap on the end of it. Those types of technologies weren't there yet. But nevertheless, our tupuna were able to, because of their intimate understanding of all of the things in the living world, were able to adapt and find a way to not only survive, but then thrive, and not just here in Aotearoa, all throughout the Pacific. It's more than just a body of knowledge, it's a way of applying that body of knowledge until you become so natural at it that it comes without thinking. You're recognizing the stars around you as though they are family. And when we see examples of kōrero tukuiho, or knowledge that has been preserved in stunning poetic examples like this, if you're not careful, you'll think, that's a lovely poem. It also contains in there, if you are ecologically minded, it also contains in there a carefully constructed list of indicators that you would be looking for in a repo or in a wetland that was well, and in this case, a repo that is crying, a repo that is not well. So I just want to invite you, before I carry on, to go back to unpacking a little bit of the mahi that our rangatahi kaitirotiroa are doing. I want to invite you to imagine for a second that every single song that you have heard is a beautiful treasure map that will lead you not only to understanding the minds and the hearts of the people that wrote it, but the world that they live in. And when you understand the world that they live in and their perspective of that world, you start to understand why atua Māori are not to be simplified. It's not acceptable anymore to continue to see Hine Moana as this singularly esoteric maiden of the sea. Those are perspectives that we reserve and permit only for children. It's not acceptable to carry on believing those things into your adulthood. You must mature. You must see examples of kōrero tukuiho like this and search into them, because they are incredible. In Te Ao Pākehā in academia we have texts. In Te Ao Māori we have kōrero tukuiho. These are the things that will teach you. And they're incredibly reliable, so reliable that we can pinpoint the exact time that Nuku Tawhiti and Ruanui were coming over, because in one of them, in this one, it describes a number of stars in their exact positions where they were at the time that he saw a particular star, the Crab Nebula, and an activity. Now, this was an event that was recorded by astronomers all around the world. And when we referred, or when Uncle Rao referred and sat down and studied it with the other astronomers, they all agreed that in order for those particular stars to be in those specific positions, the person would have had to be somewhere near to Tahiti, or at the same latitude as Tahiti, in order to see those things. So that's how we know, and they would have had to be there mid-September, the 15th of September 1054, to see those things. So this is a karakia that was handed down almost 1,000 years ago, that survives today because it outran this. Thank goodness. So let's go back now to a group of rangatahi who have been studying alongside Uncle Rao, Rereata Mākehā, alongside Rereata Mākehā. And these are the kinds of things that they do. They go out and they tiro, basically, they observe. Āta noho, āta rongo, āta haere. Slowly, intently, with purpose. They're looking for things that they can see in the sky, te rangi, te whenua, te moana, the skies, the lands and the seas. They then align their observation times, like when they go, with specific phases of the maramataka. And while they're out there doing their observations, they become conscientious of the tohu, which tells them what seasonal transitions are taking place, what seasons of the year, or ngā kaupeko te tau for us. They start to identify a specific tohu in that place relative to the season that we're in. And then, this is the gold, this is the quan. This is how old I am, I know that term, the quan. They start to record repeating cycles and patterns. And based on those repeating cycles and patterns, they then go from being learners to knowledge makers. I heard that term earlier today and I thought that's it. So there's knowledge holders, and these rangatahi are becoming knowledge makers. Because based on their own tiro, they're now recording repeating cycles, having an understanding of ngā tako te marama and ngā kaupeko te tau, and now they can make predictions. They're knowledge makers. They can inform us as whānau what we should be thinking ahead of, when bad weather is coming, whether you should move your mahinga kai from there to there, because that's low-lying, and we know that this coming year is going to be wet. You don't want to be dealing with all of that. They then hone and refine and align ngā tako te marama to those tohu, and suddenly their maramataka starts to shift a little bit. So they started off with a baseline, and now they're developing their own, specific to that exact location. One of those locations is in Hokianga, and it's a place named Onoke. And it's where the Whirinaki awa comes out and folds out into the Hokianga harbour. And basically, that's what they do. And then they get to sit down with amazing people and say, hey, this is what we saw. And then we all unpack it with them. But the crucial part of this is the bit that's down here in orange. The hardest thing for me to do is to not direct them, to not instruct them, to not say, hey, look at that. It's tough. You have to noho wahangu. You have to sit and be quiet and allow them to learn to ātārongo in those places. The benefit of rangatahi is that they haven't been taught a structural system to observe the living world. They haven't been told, you start at A, you end at Z, and everything in between is the alphabet. They haven't got there yet. Because in the taiao, we've got to them before they have been told, this is how you do this. This is how you measure. They don't know. So what happens? They sit there, and I tell you, this happens every time. The first maybe 2 hours, I think, 2 hours we watched, and for 2 hours they sit there and they're literally looking at us like, this is stupid. What are we doing? And you just have to let them get over the hump, because after about 2 hours, they see something. A rabbit will go swimming. I thought that was lies, but they proved me wrong. A rabbit will be swimming in the sea and they'll think, what? That's weird. And you know what they do? They're kids, they're rangatahi, they're curious, they go to have a look. Because they're ehu, haututu. If you're from Hokianga, you're a haututu. It's in your blood. Pai, too, good. And the haututus, the mischief ones, they get in there and they start looking. What is happening? Why is that doing that? And they ask questions, and it's the question, the te kittinga, that brings them out of te rapunga. And once they have that vision, and they see that one thing that interests them, you know what else happens? They're not looking at something because you told them to. They're looking at something because they're interested in it. Big, big difference. So they are supported practically, but not directed, to make their observations. And then they get to work alongside really cool people and unpack them. So this is a classic one of their videos. You might want to turn the sound down. Typical rangatahi, the noise is always big. So this is at Onoke in Hokianga. Or we would like a tiny bit of sound, like maybe just a squeak. Ka pai, thank you. Ooh, this is hokianga. It's beautiful, hey? It's onoke. So all our, I don't want to tell you this, but I can't help it, it's going to come out. These are where we get our tio. Primo. Ka pai. We do a lot of our tiro on horseback because the horses are like another set of eyes. It's a school of kanai there. Oh, this is a tangaroa kiokio phase. And on tangaroa kiokio phase, Pātaki are brazen, zero respect. They'll swim right up to you. So we don't let our taitamatani, we don't let them go floundering on that day because they'll just get amongst it. Like, you can flounder any other day, but not that day. This is what happens when you go down on huna. Everything's literally huna. So that's onoke. There's a kawau and karuhuru. Some pupuhuka. So this is how their reports, how they record their observations. We didn't give them like a template or anything because templates can direct to. So they just take lots of videos, they record their observations. It's really funny actually. The guys come back in with like not much detail but really good understanding, and the girls come back in with like a whole epistle, whole epistle of records, and they've already got all the understanding too. This school of kanai on the Tangaroa Kiokio went past, took nearly, I think 8.5 minutes that video was long before it got to the end of that particular school of kanai. If you went down in a huna day, you'd see nothing. You'd think that the water was dead. So it just goes to show on a Tangaroa Kiokio phase, you'll see flocks and flocks of manu, you'll see schools and shoals of fish, you'll see pāpaka everywhere, you'll see everything. If you go down on a huna phase to the exact same place and location, you will see nothing. You'll be lucky if you see the pins. Oh, there's the rabbit. See, I was like lies when they told me that. It's like lies. Rabbits don't swim in the salt water, they'll get munched up. And they came back with that video like, see, we told you. Yeah. So I learned a lesson. I stopped saying lies. I just thought it instead. And so these are the ways they take their videos. This is them recording the types of kapua. So we took them over to Hawaii with us, and while they were there, they got to meet some experts. Hopefully it stays there. Meet some experts, Whaiakale Nuuhiwa, around kapua. She's got a long understanding of kapua and different weather systems. And so this is kind of their annual cycle for tiro. This is their, like how they structure their calendar, their year. And so through ngā mātiti o te raumati, these are their really active phases for tiro. And wānanga in relation to those tiro. When we get to the close down of the old year, which has already happened now, and we mark that in Hokianga, it's not just when you can see Puanga, it's when the heliacal rising of Puanga aligns with the setting of Rehua on the west coast. It's when that event happens that we close our old year down. And not long after that, a short time later, it will be katoa Rehua, ki te uru, ka ara mai a Puanga, hey, ki te rāwhiti. So when the setting of Rehua aligns with the rising of takurua, not tautoru, great work rangatahi, of takurua, then we open up the new year. And in between that time, we wānanga. We reflect on the outcomes. They reflect on the outcomes. They throw out the old stuff that they don't want to take through into the new year. So this is a really great practice, like in your life, right? So this is a time, first you close down your old year, and they've been taught that in this middle, between the closing of the old year and the opening of the new year, you review. You consider all the things. This is the time of year that we do the review and evaluation. We throw out all the things we don't desire to carry with us into the new year. The things that we are keeping, you refresh them. You don't leave them the same. That's really important. That's why things get old, stagnant, tired, and become a tax on you. So the things you are continuing on with, you refresh, revive, and then you pick some new things. And then when you celebrate, katoa rehua ka ara mai a takurua, you are opening up the new year with intent, right? Because you've been through that whole process. So if you were to ask us in Hokianga, what happens around this time of year in relation to Puanga, this is what happens. Our rangatahi kai tiro undertake this process as a part of their mahi. It's great for your everyday life. And then through ngā wiro te hotoku where we are now, it's not always pleasant going out to do tiro. You kind of have to. You're going to go out to do your observations anyway, but this is a great time for trialling and testing things, testing out theories. So, yeah, that's my little bit. I'm going to hand you back to Papa because we've got a few last little things here. But, yeah, that's what our rangatahi in Hokianga are doing. They're really tino koi, and they've been connecting up with other rangatahi kai tiro throughout Te Moana Nui a Kiwa, and it's pretty awesome. And the hardest thing as an adult is to not direct them, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Ka pai, papa, all you. Kia ora. But the practices we're going to return, but not go to jail for.
Yeah, we're hoping in Hokianga this year that we'll start a lot of our restoration mahi in our ngahere based on what our old people taught us. And one of those is around this lovely manu, and the restoration of our ngahere is actually bringing back all the kai for this manu, because at the moment they're being threatened because of the probably all the possums, the stoats, the weasels, all the predators. And unfortunately, these predators always go for the nice ripe berries, and so they're leaving all the manu actually feeding on raw berries. And from what we know is that if they don't bulk up, they don't get fat, they will not breed. And so we're going to have a season, we think, where there's going to be no replenishment of these manu. And some of them, I think some of them are like 2 or 3 years, so they don't lay eggs every year, different years. So anyway, one of our big mahis to do that, get back into the ngahere, and also with bringing back our some of our kai. One of the kai that's been missing from our plates for a number of years has been the karahu. And so
I would have loved to have put a photo of a karahu up there, damn it.
Yeah. Anyone, you know what a karahu is?
Someone put your hand up just as a sort of moral gesture of support. Kia ora, ngā mihi matua.
Oh, cool.
He does.
Yeah. So we're bringing back a lot of that kai, especially that karahu. We're going back into our kura kaupapa, because a lot of them don't even know what a karahu is. So there's going to be lunch down at the kura kaupapa in Kai Kohe when they come back after they win the Nationals next week, down in Nelson. We'll have pipi and karahu. And so this is one of what you're looking at is Atamira Hakari, and the biggest one up north of this Hakari was actually 70 meters high and 2 miles long. Huge. They couldn't count the number of kete of kumara and riwai. They're just numerous, too numerous to count, they reckon. But it actually talks about the strength of our economy. You needed huge gardens to be able to fill up this atamira, and it was a chance to show off. So you got allocated certain numbers of those sections on the atamira, and then you'd fill it up with all your kai from home. And every whānau, they usually worked in hapu groups. They'd bring all their kai and they'll hang them up, and then they'd stay there for weeks and weeks and weeks, but they'd share them. And so this was like, you have these days a seed sharing organizer. Well, that's what they used to do. They used to swap kai, share kai. But if you, have you got a list? No, haven't they?
No.
But if you ever get a chance, have a read up of some of the amount of kai that used to be
But I remember some of
there.
them off my heart.
Oh, do
I
you?
can be the list.
Okay,
You're
you
welcome.
can be the list.
Go to list. this one, they estimated, it's called, they got hoha counting, and so they estimated 64,000 bushels of kumara. Other numbers are 9,000 sharks, 3,500 pigs. And this is in an era, remember, no tractors, no farm supplies with, fertiliser. So you imagine the level of industry that's happening, and before you get caught up in the industry thinking that these guys are clearly Super Saiyan Māori, Super Saiyan Māori, clearly, actually, the powerful bit is that they knew their taiao so well. They were not trying to dominate it, they worked with it. And that enabled them to, at hakari like this, bring extraordinary quantities of food in a demonstration not just of food in abundance, but of social economy. And it was an opportunity, I think, too, for people to assess who's doing well, who's not doing so well, how can we tautoko, how can we awhi. Marriages and unions were formed to allow access to different sorts of kai, all sorts of things, eh? If you want to know how things are going in Te Ao Māori, you follow the kai. Still applies today, I find.
And next year, we're going to bring these back, and they're not going to be as high as that. They're going to be quite small, actually. But we're looking at building these atamira, hakari back up home there. Oh,
Right, that's us.
is that us?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Woohoo.
Tara mai.
Closing words?
Ahoe anō rā, ko te mea nui ma mātou roto te hokianga, i te whakahoki mai wene me ngā kai mo roto o tātou nei hapu, o roto o tātou nei whānau. So we're trying to capture a lot of the things that our tupuna used to do. And one of the things was to understand that Puanga Kōrero was a chance to actually bring back all our food systems and to help feed our whānau from the gardens and from the ngahere and from the awa, from the kurutai and from the moana. We've got a lot of mahi ahead of us, so we welcome any help we can get actually in the restoration of those moana, especially our moana and our awa and our ngahere, which will take time. But tēnei tamata nei mahi te haukainga, ke hakatupu ake, te tamaiti te arahe haere ai i a kakau mātou e kore mahu i aia. So if you train up a child in the way that they should go, like we see some of our rangatahi, so that when they get old, they will not depart from it. Te rā te kōrero. And so that's what we're trying to do with our rangatahi, and absolutely brilliant at the moment.
Cool, eh?
Yeah, it's been really cool with no direction, no instructions. It's pretty hard, to get young people to think and work like that. But our rangatahi have come through with flying colours. So that's been the tiro moana. The ngahere young ones are in there now at the moment. So next year you'll see some more additions to some of our mahi here, with those who are working in the ngahere and also the kurutai and the awa workers. So, ka pai. Ka nui pē tēnā. Reira huri no e to tātou nei whare, koutou ko tau mai nei tēnā koutou, kia ora mai rā tātou.
Hai.
would just like to say kia ora and mihi nui from Te Papa. Thank you for being so generous with your kōrero and your kōrero tuku iho. Dallas and Ririata have brought down some peru potatoes for to share with you guys. So not only are they generous with their kōrero, they're generous with their peru. We couldn't bring them into the museum, but they are downstairs where you entered. So when you leave, please stop at the table, have a look at the different varieties, and take some home for your mara. Before you leave as well, there's a lot there, so no rush. I'd invite you to come and look at the taonga on the stage with your eyes, no touching. We have a ko and a timo and a kahiru and even a kite kumara that would have been used in the mara. And Dallas and Ririata know a lot more than me, but please come have a look. And we've got some manu that also signal some marabataka changes. I would just like to end with a quick karakia. Or Dallas?
I just want to do a taku mihi to our whanaunga from Otawa and Waima who grew the peru. Wana and Tahu, if you're listening, just a massive mihi to you guys and all of the whānau there too. Packed it all up. It was pretty amazing. There were lots of varieties there. One in particular we're really proud of because it's got a high starch and carbohydrate, it's got a high starch content, which means it's really good for making Māori gin. You're welcome. Ka pai tahu. And there's lots of others there too. So other regions might call it kōwiniwini, so it's down there as kōwiniwini, but also karupoti, those our ingoa for them. So when you take them, I really encourage you to have a look at them and talk about what the names of them are and ask people around you. Learn about the peru as you take them. But yeah, take them. Don't take them and just look at them though. Take them if you're going to plant them. None of those seeds for looks. Ka pai.
I'd just like to end with a karakia. E rongo, ko te rongo a whare, ko te rongo a marae, ko te rongo a te hā, ko te rongo mai whiti, kia hau mai ko te rongo, ko te mai ngā rongo, ko te rongo mau, e rongo, whakairi a ki runga, kia tīna, hui e, tāki.
Kia ora.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, Tiani whānau.
Did we get that?
Way